Welcome to episode 10 of the Willpower podcast. My guest today is Wesley Pierce. Wes is the founder of Chef Prep, which is a startup founded here in Austin that serves as a marketplace between meal preppers and people looking for healthy and easy meals delivered to their door. Wes is a very interesting individual, and we got into a wide range of topics in this conversation. I think you'll enjoy this. All right. What is Chef Prep?
Chef Prep is an idea that started out just as kind of thinking about a way that my friends and I could build something together that would help people. And really, at its core, it's a marketplace that connects busy people with reputable local meal prep companies so that nobody's forced to decide between affordability, time, and health. So people want access to eating healthy, but not everyone has either the knowledge to make healthy meals or the time or the money to go out and pay, everyday eating at like a health food store. So yeah, we just connect two parties that can find mutual benefit from each other.
Yeah. So was this a problem that you had?
Not me, but I looked around. I like cooking a lot, but I know a bunch of my friends, they never cook at home for themselves. Um, and honestly, just like the Western world in its totality has become a lot more unhealthy.
Mhm.
And I figured we could probably do something to at least alleviate some of that problem. And at the end of the day, too, it is a business idea, right? So it's like, can this thing make money?
Yeah.
Um, and the framework that I kind of used to, we came up with the idea just on a phone call, me and a guy I used to work with. And we're like, what do people do that they don't necessarily want to do that they would probably pay money to have somebody do for them? And there were a few ideas that got thrown around, like cleaning, cooking. And I was like, cooking, all right, people want to be healthy. People want to have time and people like to not spend a bunch of money. Most people, at least. Let's just make a way for people to get all three of those things in one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What does health play a big role in your life?
Yeah, huge. I work out a lot and I'm very careful with what I eat. And I've even gotten into, there's this whole movement right now about like your hormone health. So like from deodorant to soap to like shampoo, to the things you like pack your food in. Like those are all things I've started to pay more attention to over the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was listening to a podcast once and they were saying like on average the American eats like the equivalent amount of plastic to a credit card every, like, it was some super short amount of time, like week or something. And that freaked me out. So I was like, let's really, dial in on how we can not do that in my personal life.
Yeah.
But I know like that's not everyone has that ability too, right? Because like a lot of these products are more expensive.
Have you heard of receipt paper?
Like with the BPA in it, how it's super. Yeah, I don't touch receipts.
I avoid them. Yeah, I'm like, put it in the bag.
Yeah, exactly. Or at Costco, like I'm a huge Costco guy. It's like, they give you a receipt. I'm just like, oh, you can just throw it in the box. And at the door, you have to grab the receipt again to get it. I'm like, oh, it's in the box.
Yeah, I'm the same way. My girlfriend will she knows by now, so she'll just like go grab it.
Yeah,
I don't.
I mean, I've heard like you can like grab it with your nails, but like I don't want to look like a weirdo either. Like
cleaning, yeah, that's a good one. For food, I'm pretty like I don't microwave plastic.
Yeah,
like if it says microwavable, I'm like, fuck that. I don't believe that.
Yeah, even like there's a few really like credible people. I mean, in the whole landscape of like health and fitness, you have a bunch of grifters, but there's also a few people that like seem pretty credible to me. They might be like doctors and like it doesn't really seem like they're monetizing their following at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to one guy who was talking about how Costco just changed, its rotisserie chicken from that hard plastic kind of boat it came in
Mm-hmm.
to like a soft plastic bag. And he was trying to like get to Costco and like ask them like what type of plastic is this made out of and stuff. And it's like they wouldn't answer him, which is like you never really know, you know?
Yeah.
And even the chicken itself, I just found out they use carrageenan in it, which is
What is that?
it does a lot of things. It's like a thickening agent, but it also like infuses moisture into meat really well. It's derived from seaweed, and in studies in rats, has shown to be like super inflammatory, which is another thing. Like people are suffering from like inflammation even if they don't know it,
Yeah.
Um, so in the chicken, I assume it's just used to like get that juicy rotisserie chicken type of like bite.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I've seen it in chocolate milk. I've seen it in sour cream. Gives stuff that like silkiness. It's just blended up seaweed.
Weird. My mom was telling me about I think she was reading a book about how chicken has been like losing its flavor because they don't eat the same things that they used to eat.
Yeah, yeah.
And so most of the things that we taste in chicken are artificial
Yeah,
flavors.
you see that in eggs too. Like
Yeah.
I get my eggs from a local place that they're the best eggs I've ever had, right? And they have that blood yolk where
Oh
it's not like that kind of opaque yellow. It's like deep, deep, deep orange. And if you go to the store and you get like one of those white, regular eggs, you crack it open, it looks like just like water with a little drop of orange juice in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like you put good in, you get good out.
Did you have a time where you were eating that kind of stuff and then you like had a revelation, or how did this come to be?
I mean, growing up, um, I think I credit my mom to always having like pretty healthy food around. But like as a kid, your perception on health is like you don't really know enough to know what is and isn't healthy. I thought if you bought it from Trader Joe's, it's healthy.
Mhm.
It's not true. Um, and I also think that being introduced to a lot of foods as a kid helped me with that. Like I was never really a picky eater.
Yeah.
I learned to cook for myself at a pretty young age because my parents both worked. Uh, yeah, and I guess like as I got older, I was in high school. I played sports, wanted to learn more about like nutrition in order to help with like the sports I did. I wrestled, so like some of it wasn't great because it's like what can you eat to like make weight cutting easier, but at the same time, it's like what foods are super nutritious, what helps better with recovery. And then in college, I just I had a lot of time on my hands, so went deep into it.
What's your advice for like nutrition is like such a broad ranging topic. I'm sure you have like tons of knowledge on it. What would be like the easiest advice you could give to someone who is eating like the standard American diet
Yeah,
to make the biggest change?
I mean, a rule of thumb is like the easier it is to from the time you pull it out of the fridge to the time it goes into your body, unless it's like you're just taking out a vegetable and eating it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the easier it is to make something, probably an indicator that it's not the best. Like essentially, the more processed it is, the worse it is, right? But like there's a balance too. Like if you want a corn dog every once in a while, eat a corn dog. Like life's short, but if you're doing that every day, there's a problem. Also, plan ahead, right? Like I think this is a great place that chef prep fits in. Like meal prepping is huge. And you can meal prep just parts of your food too, right? Like you want to cook a bunch of ground beef on Sunday night,
Mm-hmm.
It'll stay in the fridge until Friday. Like maybe on Friday it might be a bit drier, but whatever. You get a rice cooker, 20 minutes, your rice is done.
Yeah.
You microwave some broccoli, who cares? And then you have like a decent healthy meal. Another thing too is I feel like people are like they have some aversion to the taste of certain foods. One thing that really helped me was like, you know what ikura is?
Mm-mm.
It's the salmon roe you get at sushi restaurants.
Okay.
I used to not
Ikura.
like that stuff. And I had it a couple months ago for the first time in a while because I was at like an omakase place where you don't really get to choose.
Mm-hmm.
And I ate it and I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat this and I'm just going to accept it for the flavor it is. Not trying to make it like a flavor I like or a flavor I don't like, but like this is Ikura. This is what Ikura tastes like, and that's cool, right? And I think you can apply that to everything. If you're a person that doesn't like carrots, eat a carrot and be like, this is just what a carrot tastes like. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just what a carrot tastes
Just
like.
kind of try to experience.
Well, yeah, it's just like it's a food, right? It's not going to hurt you unless you're allergic to carrots, in which case don't eat carrots. But it's just it is what it is, and there's something kind of cool about that. How like things taste different. That's cool. So I think also taking that mindset towards food can help.
Yeah, that is an interesting one. Because I do think picky eating is that's a hard one.
Yeah,
And, like,
I mean it goes so far back, dude.
when I've gotten, so I'm pretty similar to you that I love everything. Like, I'm not picky at all. But I've noticed when I go off my diet, like my diet is in like I'm eating bad for a week or whatever. It's hard to go back. It's like the foods that I know are better for me are less appealing.
Yeah.
And so getting into that kind of cycle of just experiencing it.
There's also some like pretty easy cheats, right? Like I love American cheese, you know? Like I'm never going to not eat any American cheese. I'm from California. I love In-N-Out, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like if I want to have In-N-Out once a week, that's not going to be the end of the world. But like there are a few things you can do to make it less harmful for you, right? Like you can get it protein style, which is pretty much just where they like wrap instead of a bun, they wrap it in like lettuce,
Right.
you know? It's like so yeah, you can just like change things, like pretty simple changes. It doesn't make it, you know, that much less enjoyable and still enjoy some of the stuff you like. I think people are really, you know, quick to jump straight into the deep end of things. And the extremes are never really the best place to be in anything.
Yeah.
Like there's always a happy medium. The extremes are typically not like super sustainable either. So yeah, like do things that are good for you, eat things that are good for you, and also sometimes eat things that you like because, like I said before, life's short, you know?
Yeah, there's a thing, there's a kind of a trap I fall into occasionally, which is like I'm so strict that as soon as I break it, I'm like, fuck it.
Yeah.
And then I go all the way to the other. Like,
yeah, it's like an addict in recovery, right?
Yeah.
Like
you get everything. Like
yeah,
you get
yeah,
the burger,
like,
the fries, the shake.
You know, like people in recovery, like from substances, I think typically when they relapse, like their rate of overdosing is way higher. And obviously that might be because like their tolerance is lower, but it also might just be because like they've triggered that part of their brain that wants that thing, right? And it just runs wild.
Right.
It's like if you just give yourself, you know, people call it cheat days, but like it's not even cheating. It's just like enjoying.
Yeah.
Not that eating healthy is unenjoyable, but like also, you know, life is about a variety. So have variety.
Yeah, I think my advice is always like, because I don't like the cheat day either, because then people are like, oh well, on that day, they go crazy on that day, and it's like just be aware of what you're eating. If like the risk or the like cost of eating that thing is worth it to you, then eat it.
Yeah, it's also like portioning, right? Like if you're somebody that loves ice cream, you can have ice cream, but don't have a pint. Have like, you know, a small little dollop of ice cream. A little
bit of ice cream.
And learn to just enjoy the ice cream and not the act of gorging on it, you know?
Yeah. What keeps you in this like train of thought? Like have you had that where you go off the deep end, or has it typically been easy for you?
Honestly, it's been pretty easy for me. You know, if I'm like driving across the country or something for 3 or 4 days, I'll eat nothing but Taco Bell, right? But that's not a normal situation. Yeah. I think I just like, if you do something enough, you'll start to like it, right? I like eating healthy because I like the feeling of knowing like, oh, this is like fuel, right? Like food is for enjoyment, but it's also fuel. Like put good fuel into yourself. It makes me happy, you know? And not everybody's the same. Like there are people that have like weird relationships with food. And I get that. Well, I don't firsthand get it, but I understand that it's a thing. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's fuel, and put good stuff in, you'll get good stuff out. It's just like an egg.
Yeah.
It's just like a chicken and an egg.
You get that dark orange.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving off the topic of food, or maybe it'll come back, but where do you find willpower? So you've created this startup, and then you also have, you work outside of that, you exercise, you eat healthy. Where's the willpower coming from?
I'm not sure there is much willpower. I think there's more discipline. Like, I think willpower is not as strong as discipline, right? Because, if you're relying on willpower to get stuff done, some days you might just not have any, but if you're disciplined, you don't really have a choice, it's like your former self who set out this plan of like discipline, like with actions, is kind of your boss. And of course you can like divert from the plan that's been put out there, but if you're taking it seriously, I don't think you will. And I think it's trial and error too. Like if you know that you need to do something and you don't, and you're the type of person that is looking for like results, then you get that guilt after the fact, right? Because I think at the core of everyone, they know right from wrong for the most part. So if you cheat yourself, you'll eventually regret it. And with the startup, I mean, it's easier when there's multiple people. There's people that like can hold you accountable, yes, but also like you don't want to let down.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a long way. But yeah, having a plan, using a calendar, having something written down. I think that's a good place for discipline to begin. And then the result of discipline is you can't differentiate that from willpower, really. I think willpower might be the thing that gets you to developing a plan for discipline. And maybe it just comes from wanting a change, or like seeking some sort of result.
Yeah. Yeah, I think willpower is required when you're making decisions.
Yeah.
And what you're laying out is like, you're not making decisions. You made them already.
Yeah.
So it's like making the plan to make the decisions. That took willpower, but as soon as you can have those decisions made, it doesn't take any willpower. It doesn't take motivation. You're just following what has already been decided.
Yeah. I think it also, willpower is, and discipline is easier depending on what somebody likes to do, right? Like if I love reading books and I set out a plan to read, 20 pages of a book every day, it's going to be a lot easier than if I'm somebody that hates running and I say I'm going to run like 3 miles every day.
Yeah.
And maybe there's something to be said about that. Maybe it's like, do the things that you like doing because you're going to get better results from them. But also there's some stuff that you might not like doing that you're still going to need to do, which is like through doing and being disciplined by the things you like, you might be able to build some sort of track record to be able to do things you don't.
Right. But they still should be they should be aiding in something that you do want to do.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't ever be doing something for no reason.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
That's
I
difficult.
mean, yeah, never be working towards something you don't want to get to, I agree with that.
Like I think if you can attach it, like it's like, oh, I have to write this report for work or whatever it is. I don't want to, but this is also like, once I do this, I get my paycheck and that supports my lifestyle and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
I think as soon as you can attach it to that, it becomes a lot easier.
There's like, primary, secondary, tertiary, like ripple effects of things. Somewhere, if you go like 5 steps down that ripple and you're still not somewhere you want to be, then maybe start like having it like, why am I doing this? If you get to 10 and you're still not close to somewhere you want to be, then like maybe you shouldn't be doing that thing. But yeah, typically, like if you're doing something you don't want to be doing and you're a logical person, it's probably going to get you somewhere you want to be or get you something you want to have.
Yeah. Have you been doing jujitsu lately?
No, I haven't actually.
Okay. What happened?
Uh,
Because so last time we talked was like a year ago, I think.
yeah,
And yeah, we talked a little bit about training and
yeah. I've gone to a few open mats, but really, it's I started doing jujitsu super heavily in college, and in college it was free for me. I had never had to pay
yeah.
for like training, and it's pretty expensive. Um, and it was always kind of just a way to exercise and be healthy, which I still do. I do miss it. I do also not want to get hurt, which is definitely a real risk when you're training jujitsu, um, especially if you're not like super super good. Which I'm not super super good. I'm not like the worst person ever, but I'm not like some jujitsu savant. So like the chances of me getting hurt are probably a little bit higher.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's nothing. I mean, there's not nothing, but I really don't like being hurt and not able to like do what I want to do.
Yeah.
So that might have something to do with it.
I haven't had any like serious injuries. There was one time I was so close. Like it was like my life flashed before my eyes, but it
Yeah.
was like my arm.
Yeah.
I had my arm posted and I was rolling with this guy who was probably like 250, 300 pounds.
Yeah. I've had that before.
And he was like rough to roll. He's a really nice guy, but then on the mats, he was like just very, very like not careful. And he like hit my arm or something, and I could just tell like, and put his whole weight on me.
Yeah.
And I was like, that could have just
Gonna
snapped.
go away. It's not
Somehow
supposed to go.
moved it, but yeah, I was like, that could have been so bad. And I have a friend who had something similar where his bone like popped out.
Oh
because
yeah.
someone landed on him wrong.
I had not with your friend, but I had an experience in college with a guy that was a big dude.
Mhm.
I can't even say he was that nice off the mat. He was kind of just a jerk, but he did something, and maybe this is some sort of character flaw. It's probably helped me in some ways, but hurt me in others. Like I really don't like to lose.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to lose, right? Even though it was like probably kind of inevitable at my skill level to beat this guy. But something happened and I lost feeling in my right arm for months. Like I could like pinch myself as hard as I could. Nothing. Like definitely just like a pinched nerve in my neck or something.
Happened.
And that was kind of like a wake up call. Like, oh, like you can like actually be hurt for a long time if you're not smart with this stuff, or like who you're rolling with, how you're rolling. If you're afraid to just tap, you know. Will I ever go back to jujitsu? Of course, but it has to be the right time with the right situation, like financially, with like work, with whatever career I'm in. What would be great, I think, for me is like buying one of those roll up mats, you know, like a 10 by 10 mat, taking it to the park with like friends who like want to learn, you know, like they're watching YouTube tutorials. Maybe somebody's there that's like way better than us. Like doing it with friends, I think would go a lot further than like strangers.
Dude, me and Gage thought about doing something like that.
I've seen some.
We knew someone who would go to the park with a mat. And
yeah. I've seen some like they look pretty young. They're probably like high schoolers, but I've seen them at like Zilker, rolling around on a mat, and they're just all friends, and they have a little timer, and they have like a spike ball net set up next to them. It's like that seems cool. That seems fun.
Yeah, that is. I totally know what you're talking about with like the ego on the mat.
Yeah,
I have that, and it's the past like 6 months I've been very on and off training, and so it came back because I got to a point where I was like, I would get in some bad position where they're like giving me a neck crank, and I'm like, I don't have to tap, but then like it's like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to sleep later because my fucking neck is gonna be all messed up. And so I learned like just tap. Like it doesn't matter. This is the training room.
Yeah, I got to kind of a similar point where it's like if you're somewhere even remotely you don't want to be, tap.
Yeah.
But like that's the opposite end of the spectrum, right? Like that's just like ridding that person of the satisfaction of actually getting it, right? Like before they actually get something tapped and then like reset, you know? But like it kind of hurts. It hurts them, their training, and it hurts you because of like, you know, you ever are in a situation where you're using jujitsu in like a real life scenario, which probably shouldn't be the first option, but like if you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're in one of those situations, you can't tap,
Yeah,
you know?
no tapping. It's not how it works.
Yeah. I think jujitsu is really great as a workout and as like a brain puzzle.
Mhm.
And yes, for self-defense. But like at that self-defense portion, if you're ever like on the ground with somebody rolling around, you probably let like the situation go too far.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's kind of, I think like
Yeah,
jujitsu
you
is
always
like,
want to get away.
yeah, like the last
Get off the
resort
ground.
for self-defense. Yeah. There's so many reasons you never want to have to be in one of those situations. The biggest is like you or somebody else could get really hurt, but also like legally, like you're so screwed these days. Everything's recorded. Everything. I think there was that guy on the train in New York a couple months ago
Mhm.
who like put some guy in a rear like a choke, and the dude died. I think that dude's like going to jail, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, you don't want to be on the wrong side.
Yeah. Yeah, that is tough. And practically speaking, jujitsu is great if it's one-on-one.
Yeah.
But that's not how things work.
Yeah, if you're like
it's like you're on the ground with someone else, you're completely vulnerable to every other person.
Yeah, anyone with a foot.
Yeah.
Most people.
So yeah, I agree with you. Jiu-jitsu is it's good to be smart and know how to get back up is like the smartest way you can go about that.
Wrestling is super important. I think that people that practice jiu-jitsu without practicing like a lot of wrestling doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Judo, like I did a few judo classes in college at this one gym where like these guys are pretty good. And I mean, that's pretty gnarly too, right?
That's
like
the shit. I mean, you can put someone down without going down with them.
Yeah. I know people say like you have to live in a place where it's like, you know, people are wearing like coats and stuff, right? But
they're like judo, they're like MMA guys. Yeah. Who use judo.
Yeah, Ronda Rousey is really good at judo, I think.
Yeah. So what have you learned specifically from starting Chef Prep about motivation?
With Chef Prep, I think that you have to not tie your motivation to a timeline because things might take a lot longer and also they might take shorter, but it's harder, I think, when something takes longer than you expect it will.
Mm-hmm.
You can get kind of like that feeling of defeat, which doesn't help anything. So I think really, not tying anything to getting it done in a certain amount of time, right? Like you should try to get it done within a certain amount of time, but if it doesn't, it's not, you know, the end of the world. Like really you got to keep doing the work until something happens. You know, you might have to redraw your plan 10 times. You might talk to somebody that thinks it's the worst idea ever. You might think it's the worst idea ever at times. But just keep doing it, you know? Like 20 ideas that are done halfway and then given up on will never amount to anything as good as one that's like actually done through and through.
Right.
I think that's probably the biggest thing I've learned.
It's all execution.
Yeah, it's execution and also like grit, because like you might execute something in the completely like most backward way possible. And then like you have to be willing to like realize I did that so wrong. I have to do it again, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know? I feel like in so many like entrepreneur movies and like startup movies, there's always like a whiteboard with a bunch of drawing and like writing on it. Like you have to be willing to like fill it out and erase it time and time and time again, right? Like with willpower too, I think like when it comes to like trying to start a business, uh, is also like, and same with jujitsu, right? With ego, can't have it, you know? Really just the market's going to decide,
Mm-hmm.
and the people that you're trying to provide some sort of value are going to decide.
Right.
And if they say no, it's no. You know, you can't like
Something
strong arm
about
them. That's just like, that's theft. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing with chef prep. Also, like learning to listen to your co-founders is super important, even if you think or know they're wrong. Like listen to them, hear them out, maybe even let them try some ideas that you think are wrong and like see if it'll work. And if it doesn't, then like they'll learn a lesson on their own. But you guys kind of all have to be in cahoots with each other. If you're not, which like we had one co-founder that I think there was some tension brewing for a while, and eventually like they parted ways with the company. And I think they're happier, and Chef Prep is probably better off. But yeah, if there's any sort of like infighting, it's not going to help. And these are all like obvious things, right? But like sometimes you got to relearn the obvious things firsthand.
Have you learned more about conflict resolution from doing this?
Yeah, I feel like I've always been pretty good with resolving problems, like interpersonal problems, just from like the way I approach it, whether it's like work or like personal.
Mhm.
You can't really dance around it, right? Just like say it flat out. Like if we're in a meeting, and I can kind of sense myself like being a little dictatorial with everything, I'll just say like, you know, if you guys think I am saying stuff that's completely bogus right now, just tell me, you know, like I'm not going to be upset, you know, or making a joke about stuff too. Like if you think this is the stupidest thing you've ever heard, like let me know, because it might be,
Yeah.
you know, like, yeah, everything, conflict resolution is just about ego. And I think if there's enough respect, then no one's ego has to get hurt. But that has to come from both sides. You have to be in business with people that you think
Right.
are smart, good people.
Yeah, and like the detachment from your ideas. That's a hard one.
Yeah, you are not your idea.
Yeah. And like if someone attacks your idea, that doesn't have to be a personal attack.
Yeah. If we were all our ideas and our ideas never change, like everyone would grow up to like still want to be, you know, an astronaut or like a train. You know, like when I grow up, I want to be a train, you know? Like, yeah, ideas change. And I think, you know, people say like you are your ideas. It's like, I don't know if that's true. Like you're the thing that's like holding those ideas. But
Mhm.
you're also like deciding which ones get to stay and which ones have to go.
Yeah. Yeah, then that's the whole question of like, what am I? What's the I that's there? Is it
Yeah.
the thing that is generating the ideas? Is the thing that decides on them?
Yeah. The whole what am I thing. I don't know why, but like that's been such a big deal to me lately. Because I've been thinking a lot about like my own like mortality, like lying in bed at night. And I've always been like freaked out by it, like as a kid. You're just trying to figure out like, all right, well, that's the deal, right? Like you're here for a certain amount of time and then you're not.
Mhm.
So like, what am I going to be while I'm here? You know, there's no guarantees on what comes after. I know like faith tries to explain it, and I do think I am like a pretty religious guy, but like you never know till you go, you know. But maybe that's what faith is. And that whole like, what am I question is a big one.
Yeah, so you've been thinking about that?
Yeah,
It's been a little bit on my mind. I think it's a superpower if you can become okay with, if you can, yeah, become resolved to your mortality, to be
yeah,
like, I'm gonna die. I'm not afraid of it. Like that's a superpower if you can
yeah.
get to that
Right.
point.
I think the only thing that could make me not afraid of death at this point in my life is like having a say on why, because I don't think I'd be afraid of dying if it was to save somebody I love. I know I wouldn't be, right? Because you're focusing on something you love,
Outside
not
of
yourself,
you.
you know? But when you're just thinking about yourself, dying's so scary. Yeah, I guess there has to be something bigger than yourself.
And there are a few different things to be afraid of. Like the one is like, was my impact what I want it to be? And then there's like what is it? What's going to happen?
What comes after?
Is this just blackness or is it?
Well, yeah, but that's the thing.
Afterlife?
Like,
What
like
happens?
when you think about, is it just blackness? It's like, well, blackness is a product of consciousness. 'Cause I can close
Right.
my eyes and have blackness.
Yes, it's not actually blackness. It's nothing you can imagine.
Yeah,
because you can't imagine the nothingness.
Like, what is there without consciousness? Nothing, you know. But maybe that's not that bad. But it's just like being conscious is so nice, you know. I've also been like trying to like scare myself, I think, into like being all right with death and mortality.
Mhm.
You know, they have those like life calendars, shows you every week of your life for like
Yeah.
a 90-year lifespan. I've been like looking at one of those. I mean, it doesn't do much. It's just really what it made me think about was like, damn, I spent so long in school. Like,
Yeah, it's a big portion of it.
um,
And then there's like the reptilian like fear of death.
what's that?
Just like your built-in like I think most people will have that.
Oh,
Like say you have a gun to your head, like
Yeah.
you fucking freak out.
Yeah, like the in your brainstem,
Yes.
that like
Deep in there.
thing that's been there for millions of years.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's definitely that, right? That fight or
Fight or
flight.
flight, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like I go hunting a lot, and you know, it's pitch black where we go hunting at night, you
Mhm.
know. And you know, I'll be walking outside, and you'll like hear something, and like momentarily that pause, you know. I think it's all tied together, right? Like that self-preservation. But I think because humans are like conscious of death and stuff, I'm not sure other animals are.
Yeah.
Like like I'm not sure like a a fish comprehends death. They just go through life doing their thing, you know?
Mhm.
Like people have been thinking about death for a long time. And I think that like that knowledge is kind of what drives us insane with it. You know, like we all know what's coming.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think like a fish eats another fish and goes, "Oh, that fish is disappeared." Not like
Right.
that fish is dead, you
No,
know?
yeah. They don't portray themselves onto that fish of like,
Yeah.
oh, that could have been me.
Yeah,
dying.
exactly.
It's just like that
exactly.
was food. That
Yeah.
was just a fish I'm eating.
Yeah, they don't put themselves in that position, you know? And maybe it's like empathy, sympathy that people have
Mhm.
makes them like look at, you know, their loved ones, their friends' loved ones who have passed away and be like, "Oh, that's going to be me," you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is me, just not yet, you know?
Do you remember the first time you realized that? Like,
Yeah.
because you said you it's something you thought a lot about.
Yeah, I remember it really well. I was a kid, I was in bed, and I started freaking out.
Yeah.
And like I got my mom, and I was like, "Mom, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Like, what happens after die?" And my mom was like always so honest with me as a kid, which is like, I wish she wasn't in this moment. I wish she just said, "Oh, you just go get to like hang out,"
Yeah.
you know. But she was like, "No one knows," you know. And she's like, "No one knows. Go to
Terrifying.
bed." I was like, yeah, yeah. And like the whole idea of heaven is really nice too. But like most religions that believe in heaven also believe in hell. It's like nobody goes through life being perfect. So it's like that's a whole nother level to add on to everything before.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you could either lose all consciousness, which is like less than anything we've ever known. You go to like some magical, most wonderful place and be with everyone you've ever loved and like just have like complete joy. Or you could just go to the worst place imaginable.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, crazy.
It's interesting. What okay, so what role has religion played in your life? Faith and religion.
I over the past couple of years, like have really, I think, started believing in God a lot more. And like when my pretty, atheist or agnostic friends talk to me about it, the best way I can like describe God to them is that when you're making a decision and you like know one thing's the right thing to do and one thing's the wrong thing to do, and that feeling of like knowing right from wrong and like wanting to do, the right thing,
Mhm.
even if it's hard, like that's what I think God is, like pushing you towards good. You just have to like listen. Um, and I think that like most religions are probably praying to the same God. They just have different ways of interacting with that thing.
Mhm.
So I'm not super tied to like one. Definitely to like the Judeo-Christian belief system. Um, but I think you can take like wisdom from a lot of different religions. Yeah. I I think that a lot of people have probably been turned off from religion though, just because like what they've seen in like media, or, like what they think is like the teachings of that religion. But like with religion and like religious power comes a lot of like social and political power, and people will always corrupt that.
Mhm.
I think if you're really religious, like you can see that like that is not religion, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as you have someone speaking like the word of God, it's like that's a lot of power that they
Yeah,
have.
exactly. Like this is what God wants from you.
Mhm.
That is like that's a strong thing to say to people, you know? But I think that's why there's such a heavy importance put on the people that do that stuff, like if you're a Catholic priest, you have to go through a bunch of school and like you take a bunch of like sacrifices from your life to be able to do
Yeah,
that.
you basically devote your life to it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, or like you can go even deeper than that with like monks and stuff. Like I'm
Mhm.
reading the brothers Karamazov right now,
Oh, nice.
and
I think I have it here.
I'm on that
I've
part,
read it.
like they're
Yes,
at the monastery and stuff, and just like, yeah, monks are the real deal.
yeah, they are. Do you like meditate or pray, or what's that look like for you?
I pray. Um, Probably should meditate. I tried to hold my breath for as long as I could the other day. I found that was like the closest I've been to like meditating in a long time. Um,
You just do it like no prep.
what do you mean?
So like there are certain breathing techniques you can do that give you a like you just breathe a bunch
Like,
and then you can hold your breath for longer.
uh-huh. Well, I spearfish, so I kind of do what I kind of did what I do, like when I'm spearfishing, like going down to hold my breath, like kind of like trying to fill my lungs with a lot of oxygen, like getting as much in there as I can, and like slowly, like kind of letting it out as I'm going to like kind of let some of that
Mhm.
CO2 out.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I wasn't like doing like box breathing or anything.
Okay. And so you found like a meditative state in that breath
Yeah,
holds.
because like you start like hearing and feeling your heart beating and stuff. It's pretty nice.
Yeah. What yeah, what is that like? What's spearfishing like?
Oh, it's awesome.
So you're going on just your breath.
Yeah,
Like it's what do you call that?
free diving.
Free diving. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's it's especially awesome if you're not the most patient person ever, because you don't have to like sit on
And
a
wait.
rod and
Yeah.
reel. Like you're always getting to do something. Like, listen, if you go spearfishing and like you don't see anything or shoot anything, you went snorkeling, which is still awesome. Like yeah, it's so cool. You're like down there in that environment, you're seeing things happening, right? Like you're seeing like a little school of fish interact with a big fish, interact with a lobster, interact with an eel,
Mhm.
like interact with the coral and stuff. It's super crazy. I was in Belize a couple months ago spearfishing, and like this like 5 or 6 giant barracuda just cruised past me, and it was like, yeah, it is such a foreign environment to living on land. It's scary though, like for me at least. Uh, Being in the ocean,
Yeah.
like the ocean is powerful and it's scary, and I think like some people will try to like deny that, maybe it's not for them, but I also think like they might just be saying that. Like it's super scary.
Yeah, humans are not built to be in the ocean. So
Yeah.
that's definitely yeah, I could see how you'd be out. I don't think I've ever, I mean, I've been in the ocean, but I've never like swam. I've never been beyond where I could touch.
Yeah, especially if you're taken out in a boat and then put out there. It's like,
Shit.
you know, if whoever's on that boat just has a psychotic break and leaves you out there, you're toast.
Nothing you can do.
Yeah. Yeah, you should definitely go with people you trust.
Are you a good swimmer then?
Yeah, I'd say I'm a good swimmer. I'm not a great floater.
Okay.
I sink pretty.
Okay. So you like a negative buoyancy
I think so.
person.
Yeah. I always have to kind of be moving.
Gotcha. Okay, let's talk about fitness. What does fitness look like in your life?
The routine?
Yeah. What do you do to keep your body fit? Yeah, let's talk about that. Like exercise protocols, then like motivation behind it. What drives you in those ways?
I think for me, there's like two categories. There's like working out with the intention of, getting a workout in, like stressing my body, stressing my muscles, stressing my like breathing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also like that kind of fun exercise you can do, whether it's like playing tennis with your friends or like going on a hike with your friends. I think they're both important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they can supplement each other really well. In terms of like the very conscious exercise I do, just like a lot of resistance training, like weight training, band training. I've been really trying to focus in on like more kind of awkward positions when like lifting.
Okay.
Like single leg stuff or more natural movements. Like, and if you're going to do like an overhead press, right? Like, why not make it into like a full movement? Like is it clean? Right? I don't know what they're called.
Clean or snatch. Those are the two words I know.
You clean it and then you press it, right? Like just being more movement, more stages, right? So like you're using your legs then and like your back and your shoulders and your abs to like stabilize you. Yeah, like I think that's what I've been focusing on a lot in the gym. I used to be super into just like lifting like the heaviest weight I could, which I'm not anymore. Like it's more about like form and consistency. I'll still lift heavy sometimes because it's fun, right? Be like, But in college, I was like, just like total brick when it came to like how much weight can you lift, and like I'm not like the biggest guy ever. Like I have very long appendages, so I never like put on a lot of mass, but I could get like fairly strong, and I think that's kind of what I've always wanted to. Like I never cared about the like aesthetics or the physique of it. Mostly just about like the functionality.
Function of like how much weight can you move?
Well, yeah, but like also like how much, like how can this actually like translate into real life? Like life is easier to go through being strong, It just is.
I helped my girlfriend moved in to a new apartment in Austin earlier this week, and me and one of my roommates had to move a couch up 3 flights of stairs in like 100-degree weather.
Yeah.
And I was like, a lot of people could not do this.
Yeah, and that's awesome that you can,
Yeah.
right?
So
like that's a good feeling.
Nice to be able to.
Yeah, even if it's like your girlfriend handing you a jar of pickles,
Right.
open, like it's just better to be strong. Like strength is an admirable thing, That's why people, look at people who look jacked and like that's desirable, Most people.
Yeah, it is interesting how the people who look the most jacked are actually not the strongest.
Yeah.
Because that is a different muscle. Like that's a different thing going on.
Yeah.
That's hypertrophy. And that's not perfectly correlated with strength.
Yeah. I used to think that like, the most reps you could do, it's like this, right? Like if you can do 10 reps, why not do 15? You can do 15, why not do 20? Why not just do 100,
Yeah.
But it's like not necessarily that,
Yeah.
Yeah, fitness is huge. I started working out pretty young. Like in 8th grade, I started going to the gym regularly.
Yeah.
but I was a fat kid. So I think I used it like I wanted to not be that anymore, you
Mhm.
know? Like as a kid, like wouldn't take his shirt off when he went into the pool. And I had a pool in my house. um, so yeah, it's just always been, if you do something starting like from a pretty young age, it just becomes a facet of your life. And if I don't have that, it really affects me like pretty negatively mentally. You know, definitely need that sort of physical outlet, even if
Yeah.
it's just like doing push-ups and air squats in a hotel room.
Right. Just getting something in.
Yeah. It's just that
It's
same thing
huge.
of like that feeling of pride. Like same thing with like eating healthy. Like it just I like to feel good about myself, and that makes me feel good about myself.
Right. It does. It feels like you're more capable, like you're, yeah, functional, really.
Yeah. I think it's also interesting how if you work out regularly and are an active person, how it positively impacts the other people in your life too. Like my best friend in Austin, like from when I moved here to now, he's gotten in like pretty good shape. And just because like, you want to hang out tonight, it's a Tuesday night, come to the gym with me.
Yeah.
Right. It just a rising tide, lifts all ships.
Right. And just like being around people who do like the things. I think that's probably the biggest like hack you can do. It's just like think about what you want. If you want to eat healthy, become friends with people who eat healthy.
Yeah.
If you want to work out, get around people who work out.
Yeah. But there's also like this subculture that's kind of like taking it in a weird direction,
Mhm.
where it's like, who can eat the healthiest? Who can work out the most?
Yeah.
Like I don't like that either though, I just like to,
taking it to the extremes.
yeah, I just like to do good stuff and like for the sake of doing good stuff, right? And not like to rank myself with other people. Um, yeah, and I think like certain environments have that more than others. I think Austin is a place where there's a lot of like these kind of influencery type fitness guru,
Mhm.
carnivore diet guru, you name it. Uh, and I never really like felt at home in that type of environment. But if you're with like your friends, I think doing everything with your friends is better. Just get everyone on board with something and do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. How do you find that balance? Because like the competitive drive in me, I'm sure you've felt this, like pushes towards a always extreme, more extreme. I have to beat this person at this thing. Um, so how do you step away from that and be like, oh, this is actually like I just want to do whatever makes the most sense for me.
I mean, I think you have to realize you don't have to play other people's games,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Like if somebody can get you to like get into that competition with them, then they've already kind of won.
Or you've already lost.
Yeah.
Whichever
Yeah,
way it
yeah, yeah,
goes. Yeah.
exactly, right? Um, yeah, you don't have to play other people's game. You can just do what you want to do for yourself, and that's kind of the most powerful thing you can do. And honestly, people that want you to fall into that trap, they kind of lose power when you do that as well. Like I played pickleball for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I was like super anti pickleball because I had been playing tennis for a little bit, and I was like, "Oh, making the court smaller, like they're just being lazier."
Yeah.
And like I was so shocked at like how competitive people were with pickleball. Because in my head it was like mini tennis,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
with more rules. Um I can go on a huge tangent with this. But but people are out there with like their like special like glasses and like all this stuff. And like I went out with some of my friends that are pretty into it, and I'd lose a point here or there, and they'd be like, "Oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do that." I'd be like, "Dude, I'm just trying to like run around a little bit." And it's like at that point, no one can really say anything to you if you just like state like why you're there
Yeah.
and what you're getting out of it. Then like, unless somebody's really good at sales, probably like is not going to be able to get you to move from there if you're actually there for the reason you think you're there.
Mhm.
We trick ourselves sometimes.
Yeah, I fall into that trap often. I played pickleball like 2 weeks ago, and I'm extreme. I love competing,
Yeah.
and I was losing. Like I lost like multiple games in a row,
Yeah.
and I was
Because
like,
the people out there, dude, they run that stuff every day.
yeah, yeah,
um, but like, you know, last time I went, we were getting crushed, right? And then some other people got on and like obviously we're not as good as we were. And I've played like 3 times. But it's just like if you're athletic, you're kind of pick up stuff faster.
yeah,
And it's like I didn't want to like crush them the way that we had just been crushed because like it's not very fun. Like so, but I could tell the person I was playing with really wanted to. And I was like, I want to win, but like let's not just like win like right away. Like
yeah,
let's just like play, like have them hit it back, right? Because if they're never hitting anything back, we also don't get to have any fun either. Sometimes if you try to like overpower people or like beat people that like are not where you're at in life, it really doesn't do anything for you. Like takes away.
yeah. Like beating the little guy.
Yeah.
There's not really
Yeah.
a.
Punching down.
Mhm.
Yeah. I do not believe punching down. Not chill.
Yeah. So okay, so you kind of broke down like the overall fitness into just like an active lifestyle, and then also like deliberate exercise.
Yeah.
Um yeah, what are those, like what are the actual activities? So pickleball, something you tried.
Yeah.
Do you have regular things you do for like those fun activities?
Yeah. Well, I take my dog to the park every day. I think having a dog, like if you're gonna be a good dog owner, will make you active.
Yeah,
Because dogs need to go out, run around.
you have to take them out.
Yeah, you get outside, you get some sunlight, sweat a little bit because it's hot where we live. Um, you walk around with the dog, throw stuff for the dog, do all that. Like going to swim. Swimming is fun. Like
Mhm.
get in the water. Um, Hiking, tennis, even like I mean, even golfing. Like if you have some people that really like to golf, you can go golf with them and walk, 9 holes. I mean,
Mhm.
it's so hot where we live right now that like
Yeah.
you're probably not gonna want to do more than that. And then after 9, you can like hop in the cart. It's just like pretty much not just sitting at home. Like
Right.
if you
Just
go
go do
outside,
stuff.
you'll probably like do be moving somewhat, even if it's just walking around uh, a mall.
Mhm.
Like just don't sit at home and do nothing. Like don't meld into your couch.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to keep myself more, because I've done a lot of, I do a lot of like the deliberate, like I'll go to the gym or I'll get some kind of workout in every day. But then I found myself like being super lazy outside of that.
Because it's like an excuse. It's like I went to the gym. I don't have
Yeah.
to do anything.
And so then I'm like sitting the whole time. And like one thing I've started doing is like I always, it's like my competitive or optimizing brain. I always try and find a parking spot like as close as possible to the
Oh
place I'm
yeah, yeah,
going.
yeah.
And then I was like, why am I like I exercise is good for me. Like I'll just park far away
Yeah.
and walk.
Yeah, exactly. I think that yeah, it's for people that go to the gym a lot, sometimes they do use it as a crutch. Like as long as I go to the gym today, I can just do
Because it seems like something you check off
yeah,
rather
right.
than like a scale that's like you can always do it. Movement is always good. Like it's
Yeah.
always good to go walk or
But I guarantee if you put like some sort of like smart fitness reader on 2 people, one person that goes to the gym for an hour a day and one person that like ranches cattle,
yeah.
the person that's ranching cattle is burning way more calories. Like
Yeah.
like that's the thing too. So much of work now is just like on a computer sitting clacking away that you don't really have that physical exertion through working that people 200 years ago did. Um, so I think if you can like have something where you go out and you work out right at a gym, and then you also have something where it's like low intensity, low impact, but like sustained. Like if it's walking your dog for 45 minutes or swimming for an hour or doing whatever on top of
Right.
that, like you'll notice your body change. Like when I'm out hunting for a weekend, we take like, there's not really a grocery store anywhere near. We just take like a hot dog, right? So we're eating nothing but like hot dogs and like weird stuff the entire weekend, right? Not very healthy, but like you're just moving all the time. And I'll notice after a weekend of hunting, I come back looking like pretty shredded, and just from like low intensity but sustained stuff is
Right.
super super good for you.
Yeah, just general activity.
Yeah,
Keeping
and
your body moving.
there are people that like, will lift and then like go walk at like 3 miles an hour for 30 minutes on the treadmill afterwards, right? It's like that is a means to the same end, right? But there's also more fun ways to do that.
Yeah, than walking on a treadmill.
Yeah,
for sure.
you're walking and you're getting nowhere.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing I've been trying to implement in my life more, is like walking her just regularly throughout the day.
Yeah.
There are huge mental benefits too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Even like, especially if it's with a dog, like your connection with your dog, it's so much better if you do something with it every day. And like, there's very few things I think that are more rewarding than like having a super good connection with like a dog. Like man's best friend, 100% true.
Yeah, that is so true. What when did you get your dog?
2021, January of 2021.
Okay. And in what ways has being a dog owner changed your life?
Dude, so many. Like I've definitely struggled with like some like sadder moments of my life, and having a dog has been like so great. There's just like a dog's natural disposition is not a sad one. They're just happy. They're stoked.
Yeah.
And just being around something that's like stoked to go to the same park they go to every day, like jumping around. It's like dogs know how to enjoy the little thing.
Yeah.
A piece of cheese, like dog will lose its mind. Just being around something that's so happy without putting any effort into being happy, because people have to put so much effort into being happy these days. I know people say like these days, right? But like, yeah, it is true. That being around a dog is great, and you have something that like relies on you, because if I leave town for a week and lock my dog in my apartment, I'm going to come back to like a trash apartment and like maybe a dead dog, like the dog relies on you for surviving. And owing something like having something like have that trust in you is super cool. It may be super responsible too. I had this dog when I was in college, and I think he was like still one of the best taken care of dogs. And it was a college dude.
Yeah.
Really like kind of put me on the straight and narrow too. Like you can't be out partying every night if you have a dog. Yeah, just that responsibility and that like sense of ownership over like a life is super huge. And I can only imagine what that is like a human child, but like with a dog, I think it's like, maybe a taster of how that is.
Yeah. That's kind of how I see it too.
Yeah.
I think we're similar ages. I'm 24, but yeah, I think she's like a test run.
Yeah, exactly.
Having a child.
Yeah. And the thing about a dog too is like, I always find myself like really trying to like savor the time I get to spend with my dog, because they don't stick around as long as people do. Yeah, I think I could talk about this forever, but I think it's like the single best thing I've done for myself maybe ever.
Dang.
Yeah, huge.
That's big. Yeah.
Huge. And like I got my dog, he was like a wild dog. He lived with like a pack of wild dogs in this orchard in the middle of nowhere in California. And when I went to pick him up, I think it was like maybe like, I was maybe the 5th human he'd ever seen. And he was so terrified. He wouldn't even walk. He just like rolled over, just like peeing up in the air, like the Bellagio, and like would not come. And like seeing the transition from that to like who he is now is crazy, Like,
how old was he? Do you know?
He was like 5 or 6 months old. And just living in an orchard, eating squirrels and cats and whatever he could find. Yeah, and now he's just like a completely different dog.
Yeah, that's a big life change for him.
Yeah,
From that to being.
yeah, he's moved. He's like moved all over the country with me. You know, he's driven across the country in my backseat. Like, yeah, I think having a dog as a young man is super huge. You know, because like as a young man, maybe a young person in general, you're gonna go through times where they're like really lonely. You know, because life changes a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But how lonely can you be if you have a dog? You know? Yeah, dogs are sick. I love dogs.
They are. Yeah, she is great. It's funny. I think I can't remember what it was. I think there was a day. Maybe I was just thinking about it, but I was like, I don't know the last time I like was without her. Like I had a weekend where I went home. But yeah, it's very, very little
Yeah.
that I'm away from her.
Yeah. I also try to like always remind myself though that like my dog Buck is a dog, right? Like sometimes like dog's gonna have to stay home for a couple hours. I gotta go do something. That's fine, you know, because it is a dog, you know. But I think it's healthy to also realize like just because you know it is a dog, it is a pet, doesn't mean that like it doesn't deserve like some level of respect.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's helpful as well. There's also like physiological, like actual things that happen in a person's body when they own a dog. Like, first of all, they helped us evolve. I listened to somebody saying this the other day. Like, they helped us get better sleep. They cut down on diseases because they'd eat the scraps. They'd be like keeping guards so we could like actually get better sleep, sleep longer, our brains grew more.
Yeah.
Have you heard this?
I have not, but that's
and like
very interesting.
Somebody falls into REM sleep faster when they're sleeping near their dog and they can hear their dog's breathing. They fall into REM sleep faster because it's like something deep within our brains like know that like we evolved alongside this animal, you know, which is like so cool. It's literally like Game of Thrones, like how she has dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Like people got dogs.
We have dogs.
We literally just got like wolves that decided they wanted to be cool with us, and like they helped us become smarter and healthier and better, which is like that's so cool.
Yeah, dude, I definitely feel better about like imagining like some scenario where there's an intruder. I'm like, she'll wake me up.
Yeah,
that's so comforting.
Yeah, my dog definitely is like he has that protector in him too, which is like just, and they're small, you know, like dogs don't get as big as people typically. They're like 70 pounds, 80 pounds, and that's a pretty big dog, you know. 60 pounds. Even a tiny little dog will still like bark at something.
Yeah.
No fear of just getting punted, you know? Like they're just cool. They dogs are like if you're a good dog owner and you treat your dog well, then I would bet that it'd be like the most selfless animal ever.
Yeah.
Give everything for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool.
They put it down. Okay, let's talk about extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. So like in what ways do you use that external to kind of like hold you in place? And then in what ways, where does the internal align with that?
Yeah, so I think that like your internal motivations kind of dictate what the external motivations are or like let's say there's a deadline at work, you know, like your internal motivation of wanting to be successful in some career is the reason you're there in the first place. So you put yourself in that position.
Mm-hmm.
You might not be happy about it, but like you're still there because it's a path to something you want, like we talked about earlier, like kind of that primary, secondary, and tertiary like stage.
There's something in there.
There's something in there that like this is part of the process of getting what you want. And then there's also though on the inverse of that, like external factors that you might perceive as like your internal desire, right? Like I want to have a Lamborghini, you know? Like do you? Or do you just think you do because it's what you've been told to want, like I think when you're working towards like material goods, it's very easy to fall into that where it's like you might not actually be working towards something you want. You might be working towards something you think you need to want.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time you're working towards a desired feeling.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna feel so
Yeah.
accomplished or it's so good when I have my Lamborghini, but it's like,
once I get this, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
Exactly. All I need to be happy is more money, which is like I definitely fall into that. Like, but I think I've tried to realize it's not the money. It's what the money allows you to have. More freedom over your time, more time with your family, good food.
A feeling of security.
Yeah, exactly. Like not living in fear. Because like in Western society, like money is security. And if you have it, you don't really need to be afraid of like the actual biologic needs. Like they're met, you have shelter, you have food,
you can live.
You have water.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I think with like external motivators, they are what they are. And for me personally, I think that if there was ever something that I was super not all right with, then I'd make that decision of like, I'm not going to do this. Like, you have to be willing to say no. Like no is powerful. And a lot of times, like if you're in a certain situation where you feel like you can't say no about something, if you say no, the person or the thing that's putting you in that position has probably never experienced that. Right. And you don't know what'll happen. It could be good. It could be bad. But yeah, you have to be willing to not do some stuff. Internally, if you want something, you have to be willing to do some stuff that other people probably aren't, as long as it's like, not some heinous act. But yeah, you really just got to decide how much you want something and what it's worth to you. And if it's worth it to you, you're gonna have to do some stuff that might not be super enjoyable. It's like there's a Hunter S. Thompson quote. It's called "Buy the ticket." He says, "Buy the ticket, take the ride," which I like because it's like kind of abstract, but I think essentially what it's saying is like, if you're gonna do something, you gotta do what is gonna be required to get there. If you want to be some executive, then you're gonna have to grind through the trenches unless like you have like some unless you're very lucky and have some family member that can help you get there or something. You're gonna have to grind through the trenches. And like that just comes with the territory. It's all part of the process. I think that the more you can enjoy the stuff that sucks, the happier you'll be. Yeah, have you heard of like type 1, type 2, and type 3 fun?
Mm-mm.
All right, so type 1 fun, they say, is like riding a roller coaster. Like you go on the roller coaster and it's immediately fun, but the chances are like a month after you're at that amusement park and you went on that roller coaster, you're not going to tell that story. Like you're not going to be like, oh, I went on this great roller, because it's such a cheap fun,
Yes.
Type 2 fun is like you maybe won some card game that you had to like invest a couple of hours in to win, right? You might talk about that for a few months, but chances are 2 years later, you're not going to. Type 3 fun is like at no point during that activity is it fun at all. That's like climbing a mountain in like sleet, being cold to your core, and you're hating every second of it. But you climb the mountain, you come back down. That's something you're going to talk about forever. And after the fact, it's going to have been fun, like you're going to look at that and be like, that was fun, right? Like that's why people go back and climb more mountains, or like that's why people like go on like ultra marathons, or like do some insane backcountry hunting. Like type 3 fun, I think if type 2 and type 3 fun, if you pursue those types of funs versus like type 1, like going out to the bar and getting like blacked out and just, going crazy, you'll get so much further. And if you can like do that stuff in your personal life, chances are in your professional life or whatever ventures you're in, it'll translate, and you'll be able to like go through the shitty parts more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you do want to think about how much you're investing to get fun things.
Yeah.
Something is just fun.
Yeah.
Or just feels good, like, using social media,
Yeah.
scrolling, YouTube, whatever it is. If it's too easy, there's probably a problem there.
Yeah.
I like to think about, like, after doing this thing, do I feel better or do I feel worse?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's worse, probably not a good thing to be doing.
Yeah, exactly. Type through fun is the coolest.
What are your favorite type 3 fun activities?
I
that you've
think
either done or that you're
like
into regularly.
tough hunting, like tough workouts that are like insane. I think if I ever did a Ironman, that'd probably be type 3 fun.
Have you done a triathlon or?
I've done like runs, but never like a triathlon or anything. I would like to do a triathlon. I feel like I could do the cycling and the swimming really easily. I'm a terrible runner. I have like the flattest feet in the world.
Mm-hmm. It's the last part. So
yeah. Yeah, I heard they put the swim part first because they don't want people to drown.
Then you don't drown.
Yeah.
And then you can bike, and the bike is pretty nice because you can kind of get some energy back because that's the only place you can really like coast.
Yeah.
Like swimming, you have to be going. Running, you kind of have to always be
going.
going.
You have like mechanical assistance from that one.
Biking, you can gain back some energy.
Yeah.
And then you can like get your nutrition, get water.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to do one of those. I don't know, type 3 fun, like type 3 fun can be like a plan that just completely goes awry. Like you plan a camping trip with your friends and you go and like everything is like washed out. It's raining, can't start a fire. You have to eat like cold tuna out of a can for a weekend. Like that's type 3 fun. Like type 3 fun can happen by mistake, Yeah. Yeah. So I just, maybe I plan type 3 fun sometimes by not planning very well. Like we're just going to see what happens. I've done that before. Like when I went to Belize a couple months ago for that spearfishing trip, we didn't plan anything. And it was like so much fun and so awful at the same time. Like, yeah, just kind of going and seeing what will happen.
So leaving things up in the air.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend doing that
for
with everything,
Yes, there is. I don't think on a regular day-to-day basis that's the best way to go about it.
But like if you're going somewhere with your friends, I wouldn't recommend doing this for like your honeymoon or something, but just with your friends being like, oh, like you don't need a strict itinerary. Just be like, we'll figure it out. I had a great trip to British Columbia last year. And like the best thing I did there was like go fishing with all these guys. And I literally that happened because I went down to the marina and like just started talking to people. They said, oh, we're going fishing tomorrow. There's like a fishing derby. It's like, how much? They're like, just bring a bunch of beer. And like, yeah, just like getting in the mix, Yeah. I think that's a good way to get some type 3 fun as well.
Right. Doing things. I think that's the theme of this episode.
Yeah.
Go do things.
Go do things. It probably won't end out, negatively unless the things you're doing are like illegal.
Right. Illegal or dangerous.
Yeah.
Nothing as bad is going to happen.
Yeah. And even dangerous things. Like you can do dangerous things in smart ways, Like going to a shooting range probably is like not the safest place to be since there's like a bunch of guns being fired. But like if everyone's doing it in a smart way, being responsible. Yeah, exactly. Sure. You can do dangerous things in ways that mitigate risk, like everyone drives. That's a super dangerous thing to do. We just all do it in a uniform way.
Yeah. I just read this book about sleep. It's called Why We Sleep. And apparently like going without a certain amount of sleep, I can't remember if it was like if you didn't sleep the night before, it's like worse than driving drunk.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Being tired is so dangerous when you're driving.
Yeah, I found this thing with sleep too, with everything, with sleep, with working out. Like you can never get back what you already lost. It's gone, right? Mm-hmm. And you can't compensate. Like if you go no sleep one night and you get like 16 hours of sleep the next night, it's not the same, you know? Like you just, or like if you miss, you know, a couple of days of working out and you try to work out for like 6 hours, like you'd be trashed, you know? Like you can't get back the things you've lost.
Yep.
It's like probably applies to a lot of things in life, you know, like missed opportunities, old relationships, can't get it back. Just move forward, move on.
Yeah. What does your dream life look like? And what is missing from it today, if anything?
I think as I'm getting older and I'm still very young, not according to that like life map of the weeks thing, but I still think I'm pretty young. I'm realizing that like the time you get to spend with the people you love is the most important thing. So dream life would definitely be a piece of land with my family and friends, kids, wife, dog, some animals, very like the whole like traditional type thing. Definitely friends and family, and then like good food, you know, being able to go to nice restaurants, having like some luxuries. Like it'd be nice to have the things I want to have without worrying about money, right?
Mhm.
And being healthy. Like my grandfather used to say, like if you have your health, you have everything. And he died a very sick man towards the end. It's like saw that firsthand. You know, you have your health, you have your family, everything's probably all right. So as long as I could have those things, I don't think I need my face plastered on any like billboards or TV stations or anything. I'd also really like to help. Like I'd really like to help my country. I feel like that would be a very gratifying thing to do. So like if I could help like my countrymen and have my family and friends and all those things I said before, that's it. I don't really need anything crazy. I don't want like I mean, if somebody handed me a private jet, like I'll take it, but
Mhm.
I don't think it'll make my life any better.
Yeah, I like that idea of like the piece of land with all your friends on it.
Yeah,
But I don't know how to make that happen.
that's the thing. Like that's the thing I've realized growing up is like I don't have a bunch of friends, but I have friends that I've had for a very long time. Uh, and like you slowly see people starting to like end up in different places, and I think that like that happens a lot more now than it used to.
Mhm.
But yeah, ideally, like everyone's, you know, at least within an hour of each other. But you know, people are in different states now. You know, some people are in different countries. Uh, Family's super important. You know, having a wife, having or whatever you want. You know, whatever your thing is. Um, I think kids are super important. I think that like a lot of people don't really want kids anymore, which is sad and kind of an indication of like society. But yeah, kids and a partner are very important. But I think maybe right underneath that is friends. Like, you got to have people that you can just be like friends with that you don't really like. You're not really like responsible for in the way you're responsible for your family,
Mhm.
but you're just there. You know, like that's super cool.
I like that. All right, Wesley Pierce,
There we go.
thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Where can people find out more about you? Do you want anything you want to shout out?
If anybody's looking to make some healthier choices and save money with their eating, go to joinchefprep.com. And you'll also be able to download it on the App Store and the Google Play Store in a couple weeks here. And yeah, come along for the ride. We're trying to build something that'll really help people's lives. We're just going to try to connect people who have businesses that make healthy meals to people that want to eat healthy meals and not spend a fortune on it, and also not have them delivered as like frozen hockey pucks to your front door. Like I know there are some services out there, but like that's not the way we're going to do it. So yeah, join chefprep.com, Chef Prep on the app stores. We're a group of guys trying to make something big, so any support would be very appreciated. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.